My name is Jonathan, and this is what happened when an Acrobat came in to buy an RV. So I've been in the industry about 10 years now. And in the first, I'm gonna say 18 months, I was still pretty green. I received a phone call. Young lady looking for a specific fifth wheel. She called in and gave me the stock number. I confirmed that it was in stock. And it was a used fifth wheel, as I recall, a little bit older, but still good shape. And she confirmed that, asked me a few questions about it, as customers normally do. Everything was normal, and told me she'd see me in a day or two. So a couple days later, she comes in, as she had said she would, and I sat by the front door. So you can say I was reception at the time as well. And when she asked for me and told me who she was, I was a little bit taken aback. She was a little bit younger than our average client at that time. She actually was an Acrobat in a traveling, we'll call it circus. She actually hung silks from trees. This was an outdoor festival type thing. She would climb these silks and put on a show, and in return they would pass the hat when she was done. And you would throw in a couple of bucks based on a few minutes of entertainment of just her athleticism. So we go out to look at the fifth wheel that she's new to her, used fifth wheel, to see if it's what she's wanting. It's the one that she saw online. And I'd asked her if she was familiar with towing a fifth wheel, and she was. She was quite familiar with towing. She has an existing fifth wheel that we'll come to soon enough. But ultimately, she proceeded to tell me that as she was growing up, she actually drove a semi-truck for her parents with livestock in the back. Okay, not too uncommon for farm use for the kids to, drive something. A semi-truck's a little big, but she proceeded to tell me that said stock were elephants. So she had grown up in the circus, and she was still a member of the circus. And when they moved from town to town, she would actually drive the tractor trailer that had the elephants in the back. So she was quite familiar not just with heavy loads, but with live loads, which was something I had then learned about. As the elephants would shift from side to side, how it would change how the truck handled. So with that, I figured she'd do just fine with this fifth wheel. So once she had looked at the fifth wheel and decided it was the right one for her, we went on inside to talk about her trade. So we're sitting there, and I'm getting this information from her on the form, and she is not painting a pretty picture. She presented it to me probably as fairly as any of our customers typically do, brutally honest. But she overall said, there's still life left in this RV. Somebody's going to be able to use it and enjoy it. I was like, okay, great. We get RV trades of all types. They come in and they're hunting campers where they're going to go to a piece of property and they're going to stay there for the rest of their lives, preferably under some sort of an awning to protect it from the weather. And we have some that come in that are better than new. This one was definitely more towards the former, but she said, it's still a good RV. Looking at this young lady and how she had come in, I presumed that if she takes care of her RV anything like what she does herself, that she probably was just downplaying the whole thing. The RV was, I think, probably 20 years old. And when it comes to RVs of that age, they don't have much value in the book that we use. They always depreciate to a particular point and they just kind of bottom out. So the question that I asked her, which is not too uncommon, is what do you think the RV is worth? Because, and I showed her in the book that it said it was worth like $2,000, I think. And a lot of times an RV like that, even though the book says it's worth $2,000, may be worth double or triple or quadruple that if it's in good condition. Her immediate reply was that another dealership had offered her $2,500 and that's what she wanted. I thought it a bit odd that someone would only want $2,500 for their fifth wheel, but it was 20 years old, and again, it sounded like it was a little rough around the edges. So I just rolled with it. I said, Sounds like a fair number. $500 extra in the deal is not going to make or break the deal, so let's do it if that makes the deal. So she agreed, and we took care of the normal formalities of, got credit approved and that sort of thing. And as is typical, we planned on her coming back a couple days later, bringing her trade in, and then doing the orientation on the vehicle she was buying, the new fifth wheel, and the new to her fifth wheel. So a couple days passes, and at the time that she was allotted to come in, I saw a truck and fifth wheel pull in. And I think I only caught a glimpse of the truck at the time. I then got a phone call from my service manager, and he said, "Did you take this thing in on trade? You might want to come out here and look at this." So proceeded to go outside and meet up with her, and as customary, I went to say hi to her before checking out my new fifth wheel. Walking up to her immediately, the truck was clapped out. Probably 20-year-old, 3/4 ton truck. Not terrible, but looked like it had probably seen 500,000 miles. Many colors on the truck, no matching tires. Pretty sure the grill was missing from an accident, and then of all things, there was no dash. So I don't think she had air conditioning, much less a speedometer at that point. I'm not taking in the truck on trade, it doesn't matter. It safely got it here. So I then turned my attention to the fifth wheel, this new fifth wheel that I had become partial owner of with the dealership. It was interesting to say the least. It was a coat of many colors. Worse off than the truck. The tires didn't match, but neither did the wheels. Some of the windows were patched over with plexiglass, where they had just used tech screws to screw the plexiglass, which was oversized for the window, to the side of the camper, which then was haphazardly sealed up with some silicone or who knows what. So I'm walking around the perimeter of the fifth wheel, kind of taking it all in. I just invested $2,500 hard-earned dollars into this fifth wheel, and I hope to resell it for more than that. Maybe it's just the exterior. Let's keep looking. Maybe the interior is going to get better. So I walk the perimeter of the fifth wheel, and the fifth wheel's old enough to, have some things to look at interesting on the outside. But, I figured it's a fifth wheel. It has a slide. It rolled into the lot. It was towed in here. It can't be that bad. So because it had a slide, she immediately starts showing me how to open the slide. Normally in our industry, that means push this button. It's not how it worked for her RV. You had to hotwire the fifth wheel to get the slide out. She proceeded to tell me that she would use jumper cables from the truck, and she requested a battery jump box. Just like in the auto world, battery jump boxes are a common thing for us. So grab a battery jump box, and we hook up the positive to one and the negative to the other, and she literally crosses wires and the slide magically opens. So a little bit different than what we're accustomed to, but again, maybe we can look past this. We have the slide out at this point after hot wiring it, and it's time to go inside the RV. She opens the door. I don't even remember if there were stairs on the outside of the RV. She may have had like a step stool or something. But we go to step in, and she suddenly goes, "Wait!" And knowing what I was stepping into, I immediately waited. She says, "As soon as you step in the camper, don't step there, skip that step." Her particular fifth wheel, instead of stepping in stairs and you're immediately on the main level, had another step or two as you went in, and the bottom step inside the entry door was completely rotted away. It still looked like it was there because the carpet was there, but there was no support underneath it whatsoever. So I skipped the step, I get inside, and it's a single slide fifth wheel, very traditional. The slide was on the opposite side where I was entering. There was a sofa followed by a dinette behind it. The kitchen was along the side, and I don't remember it. I guess at this point I try to block most of it out. But you turn right and go towards the front of the fifth wheel, and you've got a few stairs, followed by the bathroom, followed by the bedroom. As you move up into the bathroom area, one interesting part. Now, again, this young woman, she lived by herself while she was traveling. And I thought it was interesting that there was no bathroom door. I mean, you live by yourself, you don't necessarily need or use a bathroom door, but RVs typically come with bathroom doors. I questioned her on it, and ultimately it was written off as unnecessary equipment. Maybe it had broken and she just didn't need it. Okay, fair enough. You live by yourself. We got up to the bedroom portion of the fifth wheel, and on a single slide fifth wheel, there's no slide in the bedroom, and so you basically walk into the bedroom and you just kind of fall into bed. There's a window on each side. There's a little bit of space, like a U, to walk around the foot of the bed and up the sides, but there's just not a lot of space up there. She had removed all of her belongings from the RV. Anything that was left in there, she was no longer concerned with. And one of the interesting things that she had done inside the RV was decorated her windows with the silks that she used for her work. So I guess when they got too old, or maybe stretched out, or just wasn't going to use the silks anymore, she would cut them and use them around her windows as decor. And with that, she used a standard old swing line stapler to staple them to the walls. And again, not that that necessarily made it any worse, but it didn't really help. It was lipstick on a pig, to say the least. So after I was thoroughly perplexed with how this young lady had been living in this fifth wheel on the road, I thought, well, we might as well start orientation, get this show on the road. She introduced her sister to me, who also had grown up in the same business. And I took the two of them over to the new fifth wheel in order to check it out. The service representative was going to come do the orientation with them. But in the meantime, I was just chit-chatting. Her sister was seeing it for the first time. And her sister, as we got up into the bedroom, points at this wardrobe, which the wardrobe was a single door wardrobe. It was 24 inches wide, maybe 16 inches deep, and probably 30 inches tall. And her sister proceeded to tell me about how the Acrobat could fit into said wardrobe. I thought that this wasn't possible for a full-grown woman, so I went ahead and asked if she could show me that. Sure enough, she kicked her shoes off, got in there, and said, "Ta-da, see, I fit." And she was folded quite well to fit in there. And I looked at her and I said, "But the door's not shut." Because I thought that if nothing else, maybe her hip would keep it from swinging open or swinging closed. But in fact, she grabbed the door and closed it, and she fit inside this tiny little wardrobe. So in the end, I owned a fifth wheel that was more than rough around the edges for $2,500. And in the end of all that, I have to sell every trade that comes in. And so we did put that one out there. In the time, there was no such thing as Facebook Marketplace, so we couldn't put it out there. But we did end up putting it on the internet on Craigslist in those days. And that was where our inventory that was Deer Hunter Specials went to. And sure enough, a gentleman came in. It was exactly what he was looking for. He towed it out in a truck that was much nicer than what it had towed in with, and I received exactly $2,500 in return.